friends. I'm on my lunch break. I'm upstairs, as you can see, eating the last bit of my salad. And yes, I do bring a bowl from home because I fucking hate Tupperwares so much. So, I mean, I do bring my salad in the Tupperware and then I just dump it in here. And I just hate eating specifically salads from a Tupperware. So I bring my bowl home. I'm just chillaxing. I was watching Sean McComb. Is that how you say his last name? I don't know, but he's friggin' hilarious. If you have not stumbled upon his channel, I'll link it downstairs. He just cracks me up. It puts me in such a good mood. So I'm just watching that, or him rather. I finished A Feather on the Breath of God, if I'm not mistaken. A Feather on the Breath of God, is that what it's called? Oh my gosh, I literally just closed it. Yes, I think that's what it's called. It's the book that I mentioned in not my previous video, but the one before that, by Sigrid Nunez, that I had not read. And it was brought to my attention by the lovely Tammy. And it did not disappoint. I freaking love Sigrid Nunez. She can do no wrong. And I really regret not buying another book of hers that I've never heard anyone discuss. I think it's probably quite a few years old at this point. I will insert it here because I'm blanking on the name, but I really regret not buying it when I went to Seattle this weekend. I went to Elliott Bay Book Company, which I'd never gone to before, and it was a beautiful experience. I was in there for like 2.5 hours. And the only thing I bought was a chai latte. I was actually kind of proud of myself because I was like, Ignacia, you don't need more books. We can do this. But I just took my sweet time just browsing and picking up every book, reading the really thoughtful descriptions and recommendations given by the staff there. I just love it when independent bookstores do that. It just brings me so much joy for some reason. Anyway, so yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful time. But I thought of I saw that one, the Sigrid Nunez book that I have not read. And I regret buying it, or I regret not buying it because it was a used or bargain copy and I can't seem to order it from our suppliers here for some reason. So I'm gonna try and see if I can find it used at a local bookstore here. But yeah, I regret not buying that. And then I also saw this other book that we do have in the store. It's called Optic Nerve by, I think the woman's last name is Garcia. I'm not so sure, but it's a art critic who is talking about art, obviously, and I don't know, it just sounds kind of intellectual and interesting and kind of artsy fartsy, and I'm kind of in the mood for that because now that I'm done Sigrid Nunez, I'm just like having withdrawals because she's just so smart and I just love her voice so much. But I'll discuss the intricacies of that book in a little bit. But I'm back to reading Story of a New Name. I took a bit of a long break because I was just not vibing. It's not that I wasn't vibing, it was perfectly fine, but I was just in the mood for something like experimental and weird. So I ended up pausing and reading Nunez. And then I also bought the Sigrid Nunez one, and that was tiny. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna read after I finish Nunez instead of going back to A Story of a New Name. I was like, I feel like I can squeeze in the Sigrid Nunez book and then we can go back to Elena and Leela, and that's where I'm at. So I think I only have like 150 pages left of Story of a New Name, and then I'm left with what to read next. I kind of want to read like a romance book too. I don't know. I'm all over the place if you can't tell. But anyways, welcome to another reading vlog. I'm at work. We'll see where the day takes us. I have a bunch of boxes to open and process, so maybe there'll be a hidden gem in there that will be calling my name. But yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna go finish eating my salad and watch my video. it is actually the next day. I ended up just doing a lot of book receiving, and before I knew it, the day was over, and then I biked home and was dead. So here we are. I wanted to discuss A Feather on the Breath of God because I didn't get a chance to do it yesterday. Thanks again to Tammy for bringing this to my attention. I don't think that this book gets as much traction as The Friend or even What Are You Going Through, which is her latest novel. But we need to change that because this was an incredible story, so complex, and a really beautiful family immigration coming to America narrative that I found very compelling, very raw, and just really strong. It's crazy to see how much of a presence and how specific of a voice and tone Nunez has from the get-go. It's just so recognizable and, like I said, just so strong, with this being her debut novel that came out, I think, in 1995, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, 1995. So that's just incredibly impressive and just speaks to her way with language and words. So anyway, yeah, this book, like I said, it's broken into 4 parts and all following the perspective of one girl's life and dissecting her family's immigration story, as well as just the psyche of both her parents coming from 2 distinct parts of the world and then both immigrating to America. Her mom is German and her dad is Chinese/Panamanian, and they meet during the war, they get married, and then the husband brings the family to America. The family has 3 daughters, and the book is written from the perspective of one of the daughters, and so we follow her from a young age up until her adult years, and the way that she documents her life and her parents is just done with so much care and raw observations, and discloses the really tough realities of immigrating, especially when your parents exist in their own little worlds and are trying to preserve their own individual cultures, especially in the case of her mother, and also just really intense, fraught family relationships and how that interplays in the American landscape. There was just so much in this super tiny book. I had a similar experience with The Friend. That book brings up so many emotions and a multiplicity of ideas and events that you are so overwhelmed and you're so enthralled in the story, but you realize that it's such a slim little read, but there's just so much in here that we could talk about all day if we wanted to. I mean, there's some beautiful, beautiful writing in this book, and it was really interesting to read about the intricacies of the specific family. At times it was really hard to read and just really sad to read, and everything that her family and her go through and experience, and how that informs her own life. In addition to that, we hear a little bit of her singular story and her passion for ballet and dance, and I really like that, bringing in a little bit of an artistic interest or passion I found really captivating. And yeah, I just loved everything about the story. Again, it's really strong, not cliche in any way. It is so unique and very realistic in the sense that it's not trying to romanticize the like American dream, immigrating to America kind of really cringe framework or archetype that we're all used to. Sigrid just really gives you such an authentic, hard story to digest and consume, and have the privilege to walk alongside this unnamed narrator and experience firsthand her life and the really intense moments that she's had to work through and live through, and kind of find her own path in this landscape that is completely unfamiliar to her family, where she doesn't really have anyone to lean on but herself. So anyway, I just really loved it. I genuinely cannot express how just wonderful this author is, and I will continue to read her work forever. So anyways, yes, that was A Feather in the Breath of God. I'm still thinking about it, and just gorgeous. So that was that. And like I said yesterday, that I needed to take a break from Story of a New Name. I actually did quite a bit of reading last night, and finally things amped up, and I am at an uber spicy point in the book. So it sucked me back in. I think there's nothing wrong with this book. It's not that I briefly paused it because I thought it wasn't good or anything like that. It's just I'm very much a mood reader, and because this is such a chunky book, I guess I needed to take it and digest it in like smaller chunks or something. I don't know, but this is just like a very typical story in the sense that it's character driven, it's plotty, there's a lot of dialogue, and I, for some reason, wanted something a little experimental, a little wacky, and so that's why this just wasn't doing it for me. But now that I read Nunez, and now that I read my beautiful Sigrid Nunez, I am back on the Ferrante train, and oh my freaking god, fucking Nino is the worst. I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody, but God, Elena can't catch a break. Like, I swear to God, if this quartet doesn't end with an Elena glow up and her thriving, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm gonna rebel. I'm gonna start a petition to justice for Elena, because seriously, that girl just puts up with so much. Like I said, she can't catch a friggin' break, and I'm just over here like, oh my God, sister, come on. It's like, it's hurting me at this point. So I'm gonna do some reading this morning. I just wanted to express that I'm a fan again, and I enjoyed myself last night. Now, I was also really bad yesterday, because if you recall, I told you that I went to Elliott Bay, and I felt so proud of myself that I walked out of there without having bought a single book. And then I walk into work, I'm receiving all these books, and I just couldn't resist. And the reason why is because obviously at the bookstore I have my staff discount, so I'm like, it's just even harder to say no. Did end up buying 3 books, which is not good, but after this, I think I'm done. I think you saw me get really excited about this when I opened the box, and that is Lot, I'm not sure, by Sola von Reinhold, or Shola, I'm not sure, I'm sorry. But I mean, this cover alone is gorgeous. And I remember, so the cover obviously is what got me, but then I looked at the title and it sparked a little book memory. And that was the beautiful Dee from Heroine's Corner, her review of this book. This was like a long time ago. I feel like it was a year ago. But I kind of bookmarked it, obviously, and I'd never seen the book in person at all. But when I opened the box, I got so excited because instantly that video of hers popped into my head, and I was like, oh my God, this book sounded so interesting when she was talking about it, and I'm holding it on my hands. I have to get it. And we only had 3 copies, and they're from a super small indie publishing company that we don't order from like ever. So I was like, well, what are the odds that Zoe's gonna place another order? Like, I think I'm just gonna buy this right now when I have the chance. So that was my rationale for coming home with this. I don't have an excuse for the other 2, but yes, I will link her video downstairs because I think she'll sell you on this more than I am right now, because I have not read it myself. And then I also talked about this Optic Nerve by Maria Gainza, which I thought was Garcia yesterday, but this is the other book I was talking about, Optic Nerve. And the reason why I'm buying this is because it was $15, and then on top of that my discount, so I was like, I'm just gonna get it. Okay, so I'll just read you a little bit of the blurb. The narrator of Optic Nerve is an Argentinian woman whose obsession is art. The story of her life is the story of the paintings and the painters who matter to her. Her intimate, digressive voice guides us through a gallery of moments that have touched her. That sounds so interesting. Like I said, it's very like intellectual. I don't think, at least from the reviews I read online, it's the premise hints at it potentially being overly pretentious in terms of dissecting all these famous paintings and relating it to her life, but apparently it's done in a really just beautiful, sensible way that isn't a complete eye roll and, like I said, just overly intellectual for the sake of intellectualism. So what is happening outside? It's like a friggin' orchestra out there. But anyways, yes, so I'm looking forward to this. And then this was another bargain copy that I just had to have because it was actually the last one. And that is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. I've read this, but this book just really touched my heart, and I cannot wait to reread it like in the fall or winter. But mostly I bought it, or I rationalized it, because I really want Charlie to read this. I think he's going to absolutely love it, and I just really wanted it in my library, so had to come home with me. Anyway, that is everything that I have to share at the minute. I'm gonna do a bit more reading today, and I got rid of a bunch of books I was inspired by. Here, there it is. That's my Unhaul stack. I was inspired by Sean's video of looking through his bookshelf, which I did yesterday, and I feel so much better because I'm gonna have to start packing soon, which I'm low-key in denial, and I wanna make room for my new reads, and I just don't wanna take anything with me that just doesn't mean anything anymore. So yes, that's what I did last night, and I think I'm gonna go around. There's a bunch of little like birdhouse libraries around my neighborhood, so I think I'm just gonna leave them there and somebody will enjoy them. So I did no reading yesterday whatsoever. After work, I ended up going down this very lovely rabbit hole of plant creators. One of them, actually the only one really, being Benji Plant. I don't know if any of you would be remotely interested in this, but it started off as me just looking at how to prune birds of paradise because mine was getting a little out of control. And then, yeah, it just kind of went from there. And then I found Benji's delightful channel, and I just binged his entire archive pretty much from the time I got home to the time I went to bed. And I had plant dreams, and I made a little plant to-do list. It was actually really lovely because I had him in the background while I was doing things. Like I pruned a little bit of my prayer plant. I pruned, like I said, my birds of paradise. I watered a bunch of my plants. I made a little list of ones to repot, as well as some new ones that I want to buy. Another hobby of mine is plants and plant care. And I don't know why I'd never thought to follow plant folks on YouTube, but here we are. I am now an active consumer of PlantTube. I don't think that's a thing, but anyway. Yeah, if any of you out there are remotely interested, like I said, Benji Plant, check him out. He's so lovely, and his home is absolutely beautiful. His plants are just breathtaking, and yeah, that's how I occupied my free time yesterday instead of with Leela and Elena. So, sorry, girls. So today I'm going to ride my bike to the bookstore and hopefully do some reading there. So I am at the 3:57 mark. We are getting there. I honestly just want to finish this today. And oh my gosh, I can't with these two gals, honestly. The way that Elena Ferrante is able to so vividly bring these people to life, like this book is like all consuming. It's super engrossing once you actually dedicate like, you know, a couple
a couple hours or even just like 1 hour of really just like intense reading, it's so easy to fall back into this world and these characters. I don't want to spoil anything, but I just want to say Nino is the ultimate F-boy, okay? Can confirm. I am so frustrated at Leela, but you can't help but admire her tenacity and her resilient spirit and strong personality that inevitably is going to get her out of situations that she no longer wants to be in and are no longer serving her. But at the same time, I just hate how much Elena's well-being is contingent on Leela, and they're so intertwined, and yeah, just how much Leela's actions kind of have this ripple effect and inevitably really impact Elena. However, girl's gone off to university. We love her for this. I am so proud. Although I'm still waiting for her glow up. I mean, we're peeking through and we're breaking through that Leela shadow, I feel like, but she still hasn't had her breakthrough. I mean, we're close to the glow up, I think. We're like getting a little peek in there, but still hasn't happened 100% how I want this to go down for my girl Elena. But anyways, yes, she has gone off to college in Pisa, so she is in a completely different environment. But now, oh wait, no, I'm not going to say that because that's going to spoil something major. So anyways, I'll just leave it at that. I'm really enjoying myself. I will come back once I am done. I am so sweaty. It is so hot in here and I can't turn on the fan because it's just super loud. So all I have is that fan all the way there, but honestly, can't feel a thing. Last night we finished The Story of a New Name. I did stay up until the late hours of the night, and by late I mean like 11, finishing this because I just needed to know how the story was going to conclude, and it just sucked me right in. I am honestly really glad that I pressed pause and read a couple books in between. So this was a bit of an unusual reading experience for me, but one that I enjoyed nonetheless. And I think that break was needed. Me being the moodiest of readers, I knew that I wasn't going to enjoy the story if I just pushed myself to just finish it. So I'm glad that I took that break, had a little like palate cleanser, and was kind of ready to dip back into this world because yeah, like I said, just the last bit was just so enjoyable. And it's impossible for you not to feel overly invested in these characters and their lives and how interconnected they all are. It truly does read and feel like a movie or something so real that goes beyond just words on a page, you know? This book, we meet the gals when they are on the cusp of, well, when Elena is about to finish high school. Leela, on the other hand, gets married. We zoom through Elena's university days, and then it ends with her completing university and a wild last scene. Ferrante's also really good at ending these books in a like jaw-dropping, like, holy shit, I have to pick up the next copy kind of thing. I feel like the Neapolitan Quartet is like the adult Harry Potter. And what I mean by that is I can only imagine if you were reading this in like real time when these books were being published, you would finish that last page and you would be like, now I have to wait a year or two until the next one is published. Are you kidding me? Because they're just such cliffhangers. It's insane. So, yes, ending was so good. I cannot wait to pick up the third, which honestly, I was kind of hesitant because halfway through, again, when I was kind of falling out of love with it a little bit, I was like, am I really just going to read 2 more books? But then I'm like, abso-freaking-lutely. Are you kidding me? I kind of want to go and buy the third one right now. So yeah, did not disappoint. Really atmospheric, super complex, dynamic, with every single person that these 2 women interact with, not only just themselves, just the whole like drama of this neighborhood in Naples is like a lot. It's so intense. Like there is drama left, right, and center. It is like an Italian telenovela. It was well worth going to bed past my bedtime to finish it, and I'm just really glad I read it. Did not disappoint.
Now, one thing though that I will say that this reading experience kind of prompted this thought process. Takeaway for me is to really be intentional with your reading. And although it's difficult because obviously we're all very saturated with information in regards to what to read, what genres to read, what book is deemed worthy of our attention and our praise and which one isn't, and all these other thoughts and ideas outside of our own that can oftentimes cloud our own taste or honing our own interests. So this goes for like stuff that you hear me talk, books that you hear me rave about, as well as other folks on here in Instagram and TikTok and all other spaces, to try and like zone those voices out or take what serves you and leave what doesn't. It can be so overwhelming, and you can feel some type of way if you let that get to you too much, or if you feel like you're supposed to enjoy this and critique that, or you're supposed to be into this and not that, whatever it might be. Just do you. Read whatever you're feeling, what your heart is telling you to pick up, and if something is not serving you, just put it down. Whether it's for like, you know, a week or two like I did with this, or DNF it and just get rid of it, give it to your grandma, give it to that person on the street, leave it on the floor somewhere, doesn't matter. So yeah, I don't know, I just think it's important to keep that in mind. Listen to your own voice and pick up stuff because you want to read it or you're interested, not necessarily because this person this book was an XYZ list or whatever it is. And I know it can be a lot, especially with literary prizes, which I myself have kind of a weird relationship with, because part of me thinks, you know, it can be fun and exciting to like read a certain list or pay attention to these books that are on this list, the Booker, the Women's Prize, all these literary prizes. But another part of me is like, well, why are we focusing on these specific stories? Like, what about, you know, plethora of other worthwhile stories that never really see the light of day or don't get the recognition that in my subjective eye should have the recognition and readership that other books that I'm just like, what? But again, this is all just super arbitrary and subjective. So yeah, just take all of that, like I said, with a grain of salt and just listen to yourself. Read whatever you want. Listen to people, don't listen to them. Basically, do you. Don't listen to me, don't listen to anyone else, or listen to me for what serves you, like I said, and not for other things. But yeah, this is no hate on like folks that do content relating to like the Booker or other prizes. I think all that stuff is all fun, and if you want to go that route, go ahead. But I think it's just as valid if you're like, fuck all of that. I'm just gonna read my little like fairy book, romance, sci-fi, literally whatever it is. As long as you're reading, like who cares? That's great. That's what we want to do. Like get off our phones and do something else that's engaging and stimulating in a different way than what we're used to doing all the time. So anyway, I don't know what's gotten over me, and I felt the need to just rant for like another 10 minutes. But anyways, I hope you guys are all doing great. I, for one, am melting away because this heat wave is real. But I hope to see you very soon. I'm going to go read Lot or Lot, however you say it, because that book is just calling my name, pulling me to it as we speak. And that's how you should go about reading, just like what pulls you, and go with that. So until next time, bye.